have anything you want to share? I mean, one of the things I wanted to kick off is just what you guys are grateful for so far in this session. And I made some notes here, and what you're excited about so far through Ignite and your business. Share that for a little bit. I'm going to dump a couple of links into the chat box that I'd like you guys to have available. What are you grateful for so far in this session? And what are you most excited about? I think you guys can hear me. You should be able to hear me. Yeah. Let me get a check-in. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. That would be really bad if I taught a whole class and didn't even know if you guys could hear me or not. What's happening out there in the real world, guys? I need to hear what you guys want to get out of today's session. I mean, buyer consultations and getting the agreement signed. Where is that with you guys? What do you want to make sure you get out of today's session?
I'm open for conversion from, just a person who I just met into, into a real buyer. I mean,
okay.
digging through and getting people, find people who are really motivated and ready and willing and able.
Okay. Great. Anybody else? All right, you guys are just busy working already today.
Right. The best thing that's got me stoked about Ignite is that each time I take it, I feel like I'm filling in the bald spots on my head. Like I've got this knowledge, but connecting it to the other piece of knowledge and making it fuller. That's what I'm getting out of this class.
Gotcha. All right, guys. I'm just going to share my personal experience with this stuff. I think I've said it plenty of times. It's about repetition on this content. Do you realize like how much, like we've covered the entire real estate business, 1 hour, 3 days a week in about 2.5 months. There's just no way you're going to even probably remember 75% of what we've covered. So there is a kind of a refocus. You need to look at yourself and your business and where you've been in Ignite. Showing up here for this hour is great. And it's probably the most important first step. If you really want to build a business that is $1 million in real estate, you can literally make as much as you want to make in real estate. You give yourself a raise every day by just applying everything that we've learned so far. And it's a lot of content. So you're not going to master it in this 1 hour. You're not even going to get 99% of it implemented in this first round. Maybe 2% you could if you were just gung-ho and you like really read the manual before, come to the session, read the manual after, go through your notes and put an action plan in place, because it's like the next class is just 48 hours later. So you have to like get on that like right after the session and apply some of the stuff that you got or put notes or whatever. So just keep that in mind when you're going through this, that if you love the information that we're covering and the real world stuff, here's how you're going to really get it down and really learn it and have those scripts ready. And like today, just getting that conversion, we're going to talk about that for sure. But to really get that down and to really use it, I mean, you either need to be working with buyers every single day and using the script every day. But if you're only working with a buyer or two, or you get an opportunity once or twice this week and it's a day or two after the class, these things aren't going to rise to the top. So when you make the commitment, like this is the year that I'm going to invest in my real estate business, and we'll have Ignite probably 4 times this year. And you just make that your business plan. That's an hour chunk for a whole year. And then you're going to like really go through it over and over and over. I'm telling you, it's the 4th, 5th, and 6th time that stuff starts setting in and you're seeing where things are going, because you've been putting little pieces in place where you can, but there's so much that has already left your mind and it's not there. So the repetition piece, I am like so repetitive. Like you guys, the follow-up plan and stuff, yeah, you're getting my drip plan right now, but as we're going through this first session, I'm creating what hasn't been created before. a drip plan to follow up with Ignite to remind you of the things that we've been covering. However, I have to be careful how I do it too, because there's a lot of content in this hour, and then just hammering you with the next 48 hours would be like you're going to college and this is a 5-day-a-week class, and you've got study time today, you've got lab time tomorrow, you got study time the next day, you got lab time tomorrow. And if you can shift your mindset into, I am investing this 1 year right here into plussing my business. It might be getting to know the business if you're new, right? If you've been in business, and even if you have a team, you start layering in these extra little pieces, and the team members get what's on there too. As you build your business, I mean, it's just going to be phenomenal what's going to happen. You're going to double or triple your business. And comes back to the core. The most important thing that I hope you guys get out of this session while you're going through Ignite is all this great information that we're talking about, and giving you these masterful scripts and things that I've used to sell this many homes, 2,500 homes in 30 years, right? To do that, there's one core thing at the beginning, and that is to build a database, feed it every day. Every day you are adding new connections. If you don't have your master list together, and you don't have your Facebook list written down in there, and your cell phone list written down in there, I'm telling you, all this stuff that we're covering will be easier, and you'll have more at bats when you start focusing on the people that already know you, like you, and trust you, and you get a 12-2 return. So that's the piece everybody kind of misses. As long as I've been coaching, and there's nothing that's going to help you learn everything and get to use it more than that one piece right there. Feed it every single day and communicate with it systematically. Boom, boom. Step 2 and 3 of the 4 laws of lead generation are skipped. People put a database in and dump stuff in there, and then they try and deliver great service. And everything that we're kind of talking about in all these sessions are about delivering great service and getting them converted and all that other stuff. But it's about just staying in touch with people, right? Multiple mediums. So we're going to talk about that too. All right, so let me get on here and share the screen. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Make sure they get out of today. All right, here we go. And I see, now I don't even know how to say your name. You're going to probably have to unmute yourself, but Vinicius, I see you made it in.
It's Vinicius.
Vinicius, all right. Thank you very much. I saw your email. I'm glad you made it today.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, here we go, guys. We got a lot of information to cover, and I want to make sure I get through it all, because the buyer consultations, and the other thing I want you, the umbrella I want to put over today is, in today's world of all days, I mean, a lot of this stuff talks about bringing them in the office. So this is where you guys really need and want to chime in on what you're doing, what you're not doing, bringing people into the office or not with COVID, everything else. And I mean, I can share with you how I do things, and that's the only thing I can do, is share the way I do it and how I get all the information. So just take all that, take everything into account, and throw in questions if you have questions about whether or not you're getting them into the office. And if you are getting them into the office, or you're having success getting buyer agency signed, we need to hear from you. The absolute most powerful end of our session was 2 weeks ago, when you guys jumped in about the open houses and the things that you were doing. I mean, they were so basic, yet they were so like over the top on what you guys were doing. So if you weren't in the open house session, you need to go play that recording. I put it in the chat box, how to go find the past recordings. And that would have been elements number 3. Watch that video again and go to the end, the discussion at the end. I hope it captured it, because you guys shared great information about what you've actually been doing in your open houses with the technology and capturing information. All right, so let's get onward with this then. All right, so today, I mean, we're basically, again, looking at how we're running our business through the buyer consultations. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys about on the signed buyer representation, this is participation, so be ready to unmute or put in the chat. I'm not seeing my chat box, so I may not see your chat box. Let me see. There we go. I'll put the chat box over here. How many, I guess the way to ask this is, what percentage of the buyers that you actually go show a house to, do you get a buyer representation signed before you put them in your car? And I mean, are you getting everybody in for a buyer consultation? Or are you getting nobody in for a buyer consultation? And again, that's going to be however many buyers you're working with, but just kind of share what you guys are experiencing, what's really happening out there. How many of you would say less than 50%? Well, let's start. How many would say 100%? Now I see a 95%. All right. Anybody else? Are you not getting them signed? Are you going out and showing houses? Do you feel like you need to go meet them at a property and build rapport? Or are you guys getting them signed? I mean, because if you're getting them signed left and right, then we could fly through this material pretty quick. I'll just give you some tweaks. If you're not getting them signed at all, and you feel like that's an important part of your business to get down, then I need to make sure I go into a little more detail. So I need to know where you guys are on this.
Well, I'm saying it's a little bit difficult to get them to sign. It's a little bit difficult to get people to trust you to become their buyer's agent. You know, the thing that I get is like, they're like, oh, I don't want to be swamped with emails and phone calls and all kinds of crap, all kinds of marketing. So that's why you get the fake numbers and the fake emails. Some people, you know, are easy and they're like, yeah, I'm not working with anybody yet. I'll take your app, but it's getting people to really engage with you as their realtor and not just say, well, I'm just looking, I'm just looking.
Yep. All right, guys. So here's the thing. Scott just nailed something. When you hear this stuff, like when we have this training stuff over buyer representations, get them in for the consultation before you put them in your car, all that stuff. You have to understand that for someone to come into the office to sit down and go through the buyer consultation and then to sign a contract afterwards, there has to be some trust there. There has to be some value in doing that. So whenever we're going through all this stuff, whenever you're reading scripts, if you're not really getting them in the office, the first thing is that there's a script that you haven't used or found to build that trust and stuff first. And one of the things I'm going to share with you today is, even though you have the buyer intake form, there's part of this whole process thing that we're going to talk about where in command, we're going to run through command real quick on where the buyer consultation setup, all that stuff is, which you will want to print this out and read through it and absorb all that, because then you're going to be able to use it a lot of different ways. And it all comes back to, if you do not connect with them on the phone, this is going to be like a hardcore salesperson trying to sell somebody that doesn't see the value in it. You haven't gotten the connection yet. And so whenever you feel like you're pushing through a straw to get them to come in or to sign or to even tell you anything about their life, you got to just take a breath for a second and realize, I have not connected yet. And we've got lots of internet leads coming in. The internet leads, as far as I can tell, from every single agent all the way up to top teams in offices, are converting less than 1% to 2% of those internet leads because the connection's never made. The lead's not followed up with fast enough. It has to be within 30 seconds or less. If we're talking internet leads or leads that are coming in off listings or whatever it might be, you're using all the features in command to get massive exposure online. Those people are total strangers, and they have had people not call them back. They've been calling on properties they're sold. They're kind of frustrated. So you have to just slow down and breathe a second and figure out how to keep them on the phone, to find out what their motives are. We're talking about all this today, their motives and their values and what their time frame is. And listen, this is all for your mindset. You need to be able to have a conversation to get them to realize that they just hit the lottery. And when I say lottery, we talked about this in a previous session, that 80% of the agents out there have no idea what they're doing in real estate. And that you may feel that way, but you're already in the 20% being at Keller Williams. I'm talking about out of the 1.8 million realtors in the United States. I think that's the US, not the world. in the US, 1.8 million realtors. You're already in the top 20% because you're at Keller Williams. And that's a little easy because we're 180,000 agents. We're the largest company too. So by default, you get in there, but you've got help, you've got support, you've got training classes like this. Nobody else has this stuff. Not like this at this level, right? Where you're really drilling in and you're learning from the top agents that are doing it and selling 300, 400, or 1,000 homes a year. I mean, look at the mega camp speaker schedule. Look at the people that are on that. These are agents that are selling thousands of properties, right? So you're already in the top 20%. What you have to do is cross that bridge to let them realize that there's a value in having you work for them and that you're going to be available. And it is a matter of just getting all their information. I'm going to show you my intake form because it kind of combines what we're going to run through today on the first part on qualifying them and the second part on the presentation, finding out what dream home they want. So I'm going to show you how to combine that and how I do it on my side, because I will tell you, I probably get 90%, maybe 95% of my buyers to tell me their entire life story. They're a raw internet lead that just got connected on the phone within 30 seconds of them being on the site, and I can get them to tell me their life story. So I'll walk through that today. And that is not necessarily a buyer's agreement set up right at that moment. I don't necessarily push for an in-office buyer consultation because there's a default. And I want you guys to hear this loud and clear. They will never get away from me with my follow-up program, the drip plan that I have where you feed 5 a day, write the handwritten note, a true 8x8 and 33 touch goes, because I connected with them on the very first phone call. Like they're telling me their cousins are moving with them, their dad's close by. I mean, I am getting their whole life story. I'm so connected that makes them an 8x8 plan follower, a smart plan, right? And I drop that note in the mail. So for me, I don't have to force them into an office or figure out how to get them in there. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. If you can ever get anybody into the office, that's the best thing you can do. If you really feel connected and they're telling you their life story and you're setting them up on a search and you're checking in with them in a day or two and they're driving by properties and they're calling you and texting you with addresses, you've got them. And we're going to get that buyer rep signed. I mean, the first opportunity that we are live. So that's worked well for me, especially with COVID and people coming into offices and stuff like that. But it's always best if they can meet a live person, because once they do that, they're pretty connected to you if they're coming in. So if you are not connecting on the phone and you haven't mastered that skill yet, and you're not feeding your database 5 every day and writing 5 handwritten notes a day, and during Ignite, it's 10, okay, you're connecting with some of your database, but you've also got leads coming in because we need new business and we got to reconnect with our database. So it's 5 and 5 kind of is what you want to do during Ignite, right? If you're not doing that, you've got to get them into the office. If you're not mastering that connection on the phone and getting them to tell you their life story and setting up a search. So my system is just like my listing presentation, instant on listing. Like when I put a listing on, within an hour, it's all full on. Same with a buyer. The search starts, they get a handwritten note in the mail within a couple of days. They're getting confirmation. Did you receive the email? The next day, did you drive by the property? And then a whole follow-up program that just keeps it looks like we're totally on it. So think about that as we go through a lot of this stuff today. Any questions? You guys can jump in anytime. And remember, you can raise your hand. I think that pops up on my screen here. So I'll see your hand raised and I'll kind of take a breath so you can jump in. All right, so let's get your brains like moving here. So on the appointment, it is just your opportunity. Setting up the appointment is only the opportunity to earn their trust and get them on a follow-up plan and be in touch with them, right? Because you can have them come into the office. It doesn't mean they're going to sign, but if you can get them into the office, just know more than likely they probably are going to sign. It's getting them into the office that's the harder part. So don't push getting them into the office so hard that you're forgetting to connect. You don't have to connect at the office. You can connect on the phone. You can connect with Zoom. I mean, the second you get a call, you could say, you know, hey, you can kind of tell when you're talking to somebody if they're a personable person or they're kind of short with you. It's like, hey, if you'd like to go live on Zoom or anything, if you like using that, we can switch over to Zoom right now and meet each other. You could definitely like switch over like that, and that might help you connect or do more, right? But remember here, it's all about capturing them. Once you get them captured and they're coming out, you've been cultivating on them, and now they call you about a property or whatever. That's when you've done what you're supposed to do. Now we're moving them to close or to move into a transaction or to get that buyer agency signed to get them to commit to you. So the best thing that you can drip on internet buyers are leads, or houses. If you capture an internet lead and you get them into your system, I think I've said this before in one of our other sessions, get them on an MLS drip search. But that is not your only drip. I mean, you got to put them, if you connected with them enough to find out what they're looking for, and we'll go through my form here in a minute on how I get them cultivate. I actually kind of cultivate them on the front end, but then the cultivation really starts by putting them on an 8x8. 8x8 is 12 to 2 return. Just throwing somebody on an email drip and forgetting about them is going to help you lose that buyer to another agent. They're going to be calling around on other properties. So we'll go through some specific scripts when I go through that form on how we lock them up and they see the value in working with us. Because you understand that when I said 90 to 95% of my internet leads tell me their life story, we haven't even met. They haven't seen a picture of me. They don't know me from Adam. They're coming in from like realtor.com, some click through, and some call centers already talked to them, and it's very sterile and there's really not a connection. They didn't even expect a live person to freaking call them back that fast. So I'll go through my script on my buyer form when we cover that. But just know that cultivating the lead, if you want to send them properties, get them set up on an MLS search. To do that, you need to find out what they're looking for. And again, we're going to cover that when we get to my form. So once you find out what they're looking for, set up the search immediately, drop them a quick text to make sure they got the link, and it's all done instantly. So like I don't spend more than probably a minute to get their information off of my intake form, right? Remember, we've got for those of you that haven't seen the intake form before, blue is for buyer. That's what we're talking about today. I'm writing this down while I'm talking to them on the phone. The second we hang up, I'm setting up the MLS search, and then I write MLS in the top corner. Trying to see if I have one sitting around here somewhere. Write MLS in the top corner or top producer once I get them into the database, and if I wrote them a note, and if I got them set up on the MLS search. So that way, once that stuff's in, and I know those 3 things have happened, we got their search set up, I wrote the note, and they're in top producer is our database, or command is what you would use, right? And like I said before, I use command all the time. It's not my Met database because of the campaigns and action plans. I've got to move a lot of stuff over. Command will be my probably 14th or 15th database that I've moved my business into. So, and as it got bigger and bigger and bigger, the data and the action plans that are running are all so different. There's no export and import that will ever work that I've ever seen. You have to move everybody over one by one. So I'll have top producer for probably another 4 years while I'm moving them into command. I'm also using command every single day to move those people over, that I'm seeing what plans work, what doesn't work, what needs to be fixed. And then I click down in the bottom right corner and I submit everything, screenshots. It won't do this, it needs to do this. And it's like some of the stuff shows up and they fix it right then. So the more of us that use it every single day and click that button down in the bottom for feedback or whatever it is, I think it says feedback or something. The more you guys are sending that stuff in, the more we're all going to get those things coming through that we would use. And that's how they're creating the database. So that's a little bit different in the way they're creating that. So on page 14 in your book, it talks about, so if you got the Elements script book, we're going to refer back and forth to several different things. But on page 14, it just kind of talks about all the different things that are going to happen. If you can explain this in a way that you've already connected with the buyer and they understand that there's a benefit to have you representing them, this is the stuff that supports or brings your value back to them as an agent. Too many people will try and use this stuff first to convince them to use them and sign the buyer agency agreement. And I'm going to go back to, you got to master that connection first, right? By just, it's so simple. It is the bold scripts. Like when you just say, so what's important about this move to you? When did you really ideally like to move? What's important about that date? Why is that date the date, right? What areas are you looking at? And why is that area important to you? Because once you start finding those things out, those answers are always coming back around all this stuff. And that's where you're connecting the value to the items that we do. Like just absorb their local insight, get to know the neighborhood inventory levels. I mean, if we went through all this stuff, guys, you're probably looking at this, this is a lot of stuff we have to know. So the more at bats you get with buyers and the more you reference this and go through this with buyers, the more you'll add these things in. You're not going to do all this stuff right now. In fact, you're probably not even doing half of this stuff right now. Do you know what the neighborhood inventory levels are? No, we're just jumping on doing an MLS search and seeing what's available. But if you are looking for something specific and you know that there's multiple offers and you know there's actives and pendings, that part, when you get a buyer who's out driving by properties and ready to make an offer, if you've worked this into your process, it's not necessarily done right up front to get the buyer agency signed, but it's done somewhere throughout the process to educate them that you may not be offering asking price. So if you're approved for 200,000, we need to be looking at 180 because everything's going $20,000 over. Now you could look at 200, but they can't come in and offer 180. So all that education process, when you get them in for a buyer consultation, these are just the things you're going to hit over, right? You could actually use this graphic. There's two pages here, getting pre-approved for the loan. It talks about the benefits there, finding your new home and making the offers. So that's just going through the process. You could use that as your whole buyer consultation. Only remember this. They're not going to remember more than 25% of it. They're only going to remember some of it. They're not going to even understand what some of it is because they're not at that point yet, especially if they're a first-time home buyer. Actually, if they're any kind of buyer, because most people are in their house for 10 years. Here's the other thing. You got to assume that every single buyer has not moved for 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years, even if it was 3 years, treat them like a first-time home buyer because they don't remember the process. They don't remember what it was like when they sold, and the market's totally different. Our markets probably change every 6 months, from buyers markets to sellers markets to things selling fast to things sitting on the market. You guys are probably seeing that now, right? Are you guys seeing things sitting on the market a little longer than they were just 3 months ago? I'm getting some nods. So the market's changing constantly. So anyway, just keep in mind that you're not pushing hard. You're not selling this stuff to get them to sign the buyer's agreement. You have to get their trust, and they have to trust you and like you, and they will sign the buyer's agency agreement. They have to see the value in it. So a lot of times what you said, Scott, where, you know, trying to get them to get that signed, I think you might be missing that point first, right? We're just going for the kill too quick because we're taught, get them in for the consultation, because if you get them in for the consultation, they'll probably sign. You know, this market moves so fast, you may not have time to get them in for the buyer consultation. That is still, though, the absolute best way. If you are new and you're not, if you haven't written your value proposition, you don't know what your value proposition is. If you skip that in Spark, I'm refreshing your mind on that again. If you did not write down your value proposition and the 3 things that you do that your competition can't say they can do, then you're already just, you're probably just going to start running through the bullet points of things. Now, the reason why we say get them into the office, because if somebody does come in and meet you at the office, you're more than likely going to get them to sign the buyer agency. And I've got ways to actually say that too. Sign is actually a negative word. Sign this contract, sign here, reminds you of just car dealers, right? Sign here on the dotted line, press hard, 3 copies. So I don't like the word sign. In fact, I'm going to give you guys a little tidbit here. Try to remove your realtor lingo from your conversations with buyers and sellers. Remove your lingo. When I say lingo, I mean like CMA, MLS, all these things. Stop using those words. They don't know what they are. And I know you guys can laugh about this for a second, but I'm sure you've had somebody you've talked to and they were like, you know, that MSL thing, MSL is like Major League Soccer or something like that. I don't know what it is. So they don't even know what MLS is. They definitely CMA. What is CMA? Comparable market analysis, right? Just all the things we say. Buyer's representation agreement. You know, yuck. It is a document that allows me to look out for your best interest. So try and take all your real estate lingo, take that word out and make it understandable. Let me say that again. A buyer's representation agreement is a document that allows me to look out for your best interest. Don't you think it'd be good to have somebody in real estate that knows real estate looking out for your best interest? I'm giving you guys a script already, right? The closing script. Wouldn't it be good to have somebody looking out for your best interest that's in real estate and does it every day? What can they say? I mean, how often would they say no? If they say, yeah, I could see that, say, great, this form allows me to do that for you. This form allows me to do that for you. And just hand them the pen. It's like ready to sign. I know that sounds simple, but as you're using this stuff, you have to like use it enough that you're confident enough and comfortable enough. So everything that we're covering here gives you the confidence level that you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing. However, you don't have to throw all that on the table first and show them where the value is. All you have to do is know you know it, and then you'll get the confidence to get that signed quicker, or, you know, and not even in a tricky way, but it's like you've got the value. So if they ask any questions, if they did say, well, I mean, I don't know, you know, what about this part of the process, or what about that part of the process? Well, that's everything supportive is there, but it doesn't mean you have to give it all to them up front because they don't even know what's valuable yet. So that's another mastery level consultation approach, is to find out what's important to them. And just by asking, you know, when you're buying a house, just to help me gauge where you guys are. I mean, what's the most confusing part you think about real estate? What do you feel like you know real well? Whatever they tell you the confusing part is in your supporting documents, because you've gone through them and you know where to pull them from, or you just know it in your head because you've gone through it and you can answer those questions. So that's like getting the objections right up front, taking care of the objection. Now, is there anything else that would scare you the most about buying a house? And then if there is, they'll say it. And if there's not, no, it's like, great. So having someone that knows how to navigate through all this stuff and look out for your best interest, you could see that would be a benefit, right? And they'd see, yeah. And they'd say, great, this form allows me to do that. So I know it's repetition. I want you guys to hear this several times, okay? Several times. So in Command, it has all over the overabundance of buyer consultation, presentation, data, material. I mean, you can just go right into Command, right? And if you look right on the side, it's like the fourth one from the bottom when you're in Command, that is the designs. And you go in and you create a new design, and it'll take you right to this screen right here that you're looking at, which shows templates, or you got my designs, you got assets. So if you're creating this new design, like for example, today, I just clicked on the buyer tab for the buyer presentation, and it's got 5 different presentations all right there. They're all the same presentation. They're just different looks depending on what you want. So I would click one of the 2 or 3 middle ones that are all white and print them out. Don't print the red one and the black one yet, because you're just going to use up ink on your printer or your copier. So print that out. And in that booklet, it goes through everything. The very first page in there is the buyer consultation. It actually walks you through the process of the buyer consultation. So again, today with our hour, it's to give you the information so you know where to get it. Right now, you know where to get it, right on a piece of paper. If you didn't do it right now, go to Command, go to templates or present designs, go to buyers, and print off this consultation, one of them. It actually gives you the step-by-step consultation layout there before it rolls into the presentation. So you would delete this page out, obviously. but the information is there to make you guys look like you've been doing this forever. So now in there, they also have the intake form, and the intake form is their name. And then it asks a lot of qualifying questions like, have they been pre-approved? Have they been all this and that? But the second part of the presentation is like the next few slides talk about, we're going to show them to you here, but we'll go through this on the form and I'll show you how I've included these next few slides on my intake form. So if we're looking at my intake form here, I mean, I've got the day, the date, the time, how'd you hear about the Korn team, or if it was a referral. We have websites that send us a lot of stuff, and then we get the buyer's information, their current address. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm 100% on addresses, 100% talking to total strangers. So let me give you an example. The buyer lead comes in from like realtor.com. They actually call me on the hot lead or whatever. There's several different sources that I get the leads from, and they got calling centers, and I pay a referral fee for it. I don't pay for anything up front. I do pay a referral fee for it. And I think the referral fee is definitely a little steep just for them to capture the buyer. I mean, they say they have qualifying questions and they tell you all this stuff that they're looking for, price range. It's never really what the buyer's looking for. So I never go off of any of that stuff. But what does happen is I get them within 1 second of them being online because they've already called them back and captured them on the phone. And then when they get on, the first thing I say, if you guys get any kind of internet leads or anything like that, where you're got a live call transfer, does anybody else have live transfers coming in? Do you guys have some of that stuff going on? Yes, no, maybe. Hopefully you're not checking your email because you're missing scripts. If you are, I don't have my scripts written down. I just give them to you. So you got to be ready to write fast. So when that call comes in, the guy's like going, hi, Stefan. Well, here's one right here. I'll just go off of this one right here. Hi, Thomas. This is so-and-so from realtor.com. And I've got Brad Korn on the line. He's a real estate agent, 30 years, 2,500 sales. He's going to help you here. I've let him know that you are a cash buyer looking to move in the next 90 days. And you're calling about this particular property, blah, blah, blah. So let me tell you about connection and not connection. The one I just got yesterday was Alexandria. And he's like calling her ma'am. So the guy's like, okay, ma'am. And she finally, I mean, like I'm live on there and I can hear it. And she goes, could you please quit calling me ma'am? I would prefer that you call me miss if you're going to call me anything. But ma'am makes, and she went into it. I'm just like, okay, here's a good filter. Do I even want to work with this person? But I also respected her for saying something. If it bothers her, I sure as heck ain't going to call her ma'am, right? But when I get on the phone, it's like my demeanor right now is, hey, Alexandria, it is great to get connected with you. So the guy leaves and I say, now, first of all, before we get going, I just want to make sure you may not have expected a live person this fast. Is this a good time for us just to talk a little bit? And she, yeah, today it's perfect. I said, great. You know, I do apologize. A lot of times the internet companies capture stuff and they've got a lot of people coming through. However, you've got a live real agent that sells properties in the area. And I've got the experience, 30, and I can say 30 years, 2,500 sales. So I've got the experience to help you. But you guys could say you got a live real person here that's in the marketplace and knows the market real well, right? So that's how I started. And they usually almost always say, oh, yeah, it's all good. Now I just go straight to my form. So I've already filled in the date and the time. I already filled in the referrals coming from. So let me clarify your name again. What is your name? Alexandria, blah, blah, blah. Great. So what's starting your process? I'm trying to, get to the point I can ask her for her address and feel a little more connected. So what's the process that's starting? Well, I was calling on this one property. And how soon are you thinking about moving? She's like, well, I mean, I'm looking to buy. Great. So where do you live now? She's like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's just get your information in case we lose each other. I have all your information. What's your current address where you live now? I'm telling you, when you master that and you just roll with it, 100% of the time they give me their address. I say, now what is the best cell phone number to reach you at? Right. And then what's the best email? So, because I want address and phone number. I don't care about email first. It's the last thing I ever get. But I do need their email address because I'm going to send them MLS. So actually, I want to give you guys the script, the opening script for this. And then we're going to go through the slides on the different things and talk about the middle section here that I'm pointing at now. But when that initial script comes in, and this is on the free resource site. So in the chat box, if you have not clicked the link yet and you filled out the form and you're not on my drip plan yet, it takes you to a resource page. And if you go down about halfway through the resource page, there's a script on there to get name and address 97% of the time. Because I guess I can't say I get it 100% of the time, but right now I'm 100%. In this market with this new realtor.com, I'm nailing 100%. So, but it's a script and it goes like this. It says, well, first of all, Alexandria, you're working way too hard. And I pause. All right, this is all in the script. You guys can get it later. And if you've already registered in, you should have had an email come back to you to remind you where the link is to get the resource site. So once you fill out the form, it's just a free resource site that I put together. It's a hodgepodge of all kinds of stuff. It's just for you to go through and dig around and play in and listen to the videos and do as much as you can out of there and just hear some of the stuff that I share. But about halfway down the page is a script. And once you click and sign in, save that to your favorites so you don't have to register every time you want to go to the resource site. Save it to your favorites and then just go click on your favorites and you can get right into the resource site, right? But if you go through the form first, then you get to experience part of the drip plan that I'm doing with people. And for those of you that are getting it, it's nothing special, is it? Are you looking at this stuff going, for real? This is the stuff he's sending out to sell 100 homes here. It's content doesn't matter. It's about consistent, persistent, right? So on there is a script. It's like, you're working way too hard. Because right now, even you guys being real estate agents, and I said that script, you're working way too hard. The first thing that went through your mind is, what's he mean I'm working way too hard? I bet you most of you thought that, right? What's he mean he's working way too hard? Well, what I mean by working way too hard is you're calling around from different websites and you're probably calling on properties that are sold already, right? Especially if they're from a website. Well, it doesn't matter where they're from. Everything's going to be sold. They're calling on sold properties. And they're going to say, you got to get them to interact with you a little bit throughout. So you got to pause. And so a lot of them are already sold already, and they'll say, yeah, that's pretty frustrating. Yeah. So what you're doing is those websites, we list something in the multiple list service. That's the computer system that the real estate agents use. Consumers don't have access to it, right? So in that MLS, we list a property and then it goes out to all the other stuff, and they have to keep some old things on their websites or there's no inventory. So they have no reason to show you. There wouldn't be any properties on their site to capture your information to get you and I to this point here where I can help you, right? So on the MLS, what I can do is I can set you up on our instant notification program. It's free, totally free. And I can actually put your information into the MLS system that only realtors have access to and get it to you the second anything goes live, just at the same time the realtors would know about it. So you could literally be one of the first people to know about the newest properties when they hit the market, right? Guys, that script right there is going to get the address, because then I roll through the script and here's what I say. I say, so let's do this. I'll pull up the search to what you're looking for. Actually, let me pause. You guys realize I have shared nothing in this script so far about what they're looking for. I don't even know what they're looking for yet. I don't know price range, area, bedrooms. I'm just using the script just like it is, right? So I say, I'm going to get you a list of the properties, of the newest properties that are hitting the market the minute they hit the market. Now, what I'll do at first is there's leftovers. Anything that's still on the market or it's been on the market for a while is either overpriced or something's wrong with it. I'm just going to print that list off. Where would I drop that in the mail to you at? What's your address? So just say, where would I drop that in the mail to you? And they'll say, you mean like my address? Yeah. I'm just going to print that long list off because that's all the leftovers. Where would I send that to? Now, when you get this script down, if you hesitate at all because you don't think you're supposed to get their address yet, you're going to continue to not get addresses. If you master this script and you act like it's important that you get this, because you do need to send the note. Remember, they hit the lottery when you answered the phone. They had an 80% chance of being with some agent that has no support, no help, no nothing, may have sold less than 5 houses a year. and they've got you. It doesn't even matter if you haven't sold 5 houses yet. You've got the experience and the knowledge and the help behind you of every agent in your market center. So they're already 20% better off. I mean, they're in the top 20% of agents, so they already hit the lottery, right? So when you say that, I'll print that off and just drop that in the mail to you. What's the best address for you? However you have to say that and say it confidently, they will give it to you there, because you just built up all this hype about instant notification. It's free. And if you're just rolling along and you're getting their little check-ins along the way, they're excited right now. My gosh, I found somebody that can actually get me properties that aren't sold yet, right? That's exactly what's going through their head. So then they give you the address and say, now, if I found a super sweet deal, like if it's exactly what you're looking for, what is the best number for me to reach you at? Here's an even better one that follow that one up. Is there any other number I should have for you? A work number or a home number? And most of the time they'll say no, but I do try to get 2 numbers. I try to get 2 phone numbers from them. And then I say, now, do you check email? You check email regularly? What do you think they're going to say 99% of the time, right? Oh yeah, I check email all the time. It's like, well, actually, then I can go ahead and just email you all this stuff. So I actually don't print anything off and send it to them. I just need the note to go, right? Now you can if you want, but that's just extra work that's not necessary. And they're not gonna figure it out and call you out on it. They're not, I promise, because now you're already over into the next connection zone. So then when you drop the note in the mail, boom, boom, connection, good conversation, and a handwritten note that's heartfelt with no I, me, or my in it. And I know if you have not been in any previous classes, this is the first time you've heard this, and I'm going fast, but we've covered this probably like 5 times over the last month and a half. It's the note card is no I, me, or my in the note card. You've got their address, you put the note card in the mail immediately so that they have it within 2 to 3 days of this conversation, because that's about the time you've left their mind and they've forgotten about you. If they're going to forget about you pretty shortly after the phone call, well, not this way. If you set them up on the MLS search and you do that right while you're sitting there and get the search set up and then shoot a quick text to them, say, this is my cell phone, save it under realtor. I'm your realtor. You can send me any address you need. And did you get the email with the properties? And they say, yes, say, great. Take a drive by the ones that look good and we'll get you started on this hunt. So it's like all this is happening at once, but now they've got somebody that's already hit them with, they're going to get mail, they're going to get email, they're going to get text. There's already all these connections that have been made. Great conversation. And that's when they tell you their life story, which I'm going to cover that in a minute. Let me pause there and see if anybody has any questions. All right.
Yes, how do you get them to sign?
We're getting there.
Okay.
You're not going to have them sign right now. You're not to that point yet. You're still on the phone. So remember that the only way you're going to get them to sign is if you can establish your value, and I would say before they go look at houses. So I'm either going to, now on that conversation with that script, if you got done with that, that is where you would say, now, is there a time where you have 10 or 15 minutes, you could pop by my office, love to meet you, but more importantly, show you how to take advantage of the current market. I'll just overview the process and show you how you can take advantage of the current market. That is probably the best line that will get the most people to come into the office. Now, today's world is a little more challenging with COVID, and people will use the COVID excuse, right? So I'm just going to keep moving. It's like, great, then when do you want to schedule a Zoom? So you could do a Zoom, and same thing. I want to show you the quick overview, but how to take advantage of the current market conditions. Because anybody wants to take advantage of it, right? So that Zoom would be even easier to do. So again, you're going to have to also make sure that they're tech savvy. And if they know Zoom, then you're going to be able to dot loop or do the documents. And then you could go through this presentation on the Zoom, or if you can get them into the office, I'm going to share the script to actually close it when we get to the end, because that's what this whole class is about. Is that fair? So that's coming. Okay. So in Command, when you click on the designs and you go to the buyer consultation, this is the format thing that pulls up. And this is where you're just going to talk about, we're going to talk about your dream home, what you guys are looking for, what type of neighborhood you're looking for, the things you need to know as a buyer to take advantage of the current market, blah, blah, blah. So you're just going through, but you got to print this off and you got to read it and you got to see what really matches up with your value propositions. And your value propositions, if you really did them well, they're probably not necessarily listed in here. Because we said, what are the 3 things that you can say you do that other realtors don't do? Now, it may be something along this line, but there's 180,000 other agents that can use this exact same information. Chances are you're not going to be up against them for a buyer consultation, but just know that anybody at Keller Williams could say whatever you're saying in this book that you're using as your value proposition. So you still want to figure out what your unique value proposition is. Right? Any questions on that? But I mean, this just goes through. Why is that important? I mean, you guys have heard me ask this question. Look at this. Why is that important to you is in here twice. Visualize your dream scenario for buying your home. What's the one thing that has to happen to make this dream scenario a reality? Right? And then why is that important to you? If we could add just one more thing to make the process even better, what would that be? Why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Ask that question a lot, guys. When you master figuring out their big why, again, we've covered this in several sessions before, their big why in your resource toolbox. I've given you some why questions to figure out somebody's big why, figure out how to translate those into your real estate process. And for those of you that are, this might be the first, or maybe you've only been to a couple sessions, this is 1 hour. We can't master this in 1 hour. All I can do is get you so excited about it. You're going to devote the next hour to going back through the material again. You're going to play the recording again tomorrow, and you're going to watch this 3 or 4 times. If I built that excitement in you, then we got to take it from excitement to implementation. And that will probably take reviewing this information probably another 4 times. There's just no way to do it in an hour. And if we made the sessions 4 hours every day, you wouldn't be here. Most of you would not be here for 4 hours for all these sessions. It just, you wouldn't. So that's why we're doing these in an hour. And that's why they brought me in to help you guys get this information at a level where you can see where it all fits in your business. Not that somebody else hasn't done that, but I don't know, I'm pretty basic. We make everything way too difficult. It's just a matter of if something inspired you or you put a star next to something on your notes today, focus on that and bring that to reality and use it. So again, here's just building your preference profile. All of this stuff here, I actually create your home wish list. Like, what do you want on your home wish list? Well, I created that all in my intake form, making sure I don't have any notes here. I don't want to skip over anything. So I build that right into my intake form because I'm getting it all, like I'm actually connecting with them on the phone. And you can see that the address and the phone number are first. Email is last. And I don't get into the property and stuff they're looking for until I get that. You know, I just flow through the form. I fill out the form in order. It is my script thing. And you'll notice it's not actual scripts. It's just to guide my conversation because I've mastered the scripts. And because I'm having conversations with people and the scripts are just my quivers, or they're my arrows in my quiver, right? So I've mastered and memorized scripts because I used them for so many years. I had a little notebook, flipped it up, and anytime, like if they don't sign the buyer agency, what was the last thing they said, right? What was the last thing they said? And then in your script book, you've got the essential script book. I'm pulling out a couple of those today. Right here are all the scripts. So go through here and find the script that you would have used. So you've got the objection written down in your notebook while you're carrying it around with you, a little pocket notebook or what's easy to have with you at all times, because you never know when you're going to take a buyer call. Write it down, what didn't happen, what they say, and then go back to your script book and find 2 or 3 scripts you could have used or that you could see yourself using and write them down in the book. And then when I'm talking to buyers, I'm recording the conversation. We actually talked about that in the seller presentation. You can actually record the conversation. Just let them know, hey, instead of taking detailed notes, I'm just going to record this real quick so I can capture all the stuff and make sure I don't miss anything. Are you okay with that? Right? And they'll forget the recording's on in 2 seconds. So you can record your selling presentation. You can record your buyer conversation. Now you're just recording one side of the conversation, but if you're doing that, you could repeat the objection, and then you got it on your recording to go find another script. So tracking them, recording myself and listening to those, and then finding scripts to use help me internalize them so that I can just guide it through this process without having to read a script off a piece of paper. Again, that's going to take using it every single day, right? So on this perfect home scenario, so tell me what the perfect home kind of looks like. And they'll start saying, does style matter? You know, they'll usually just start off with the area they're looking for. And a lot of times in price range too, you might say, when you talk about what price range are you looking, you guys might dumb that down and just say, like, if they don't know for sure, or even if they say 500,000, you could say, okay, so you want your payment to be around. And so what is a $500,000 house? I know it's different with the amount of down payment they have, things like that. But so you're wanting your payment to be around $3,500, $4,000 a month. And that's with taxes and insurance and everything. Oh, no. We really don't want to go over 2,500 to 3,000 a month. Oh, okay. Now I don't have to say, well, sorry, Charlie, that's going to be a $400,000 house. I just say, okay, that helps me figure out where that max price is. 500, we might check with the lender, depending on how much you're putting down. We'll have to figure that out. Oh yeah, no, I've got 20% down. Oh, okay. So I'm just finding things out by having a conversation with them. But then I go through, our bedroom's important, our bath's important, you know, that kind of stuff. So here's the thing I'll tell you about when I follow this form, and then below is actually the part that's on the form that's in your Elements toolbox, which is, have they been pre-approved? So I find out their housing information to get them built up for that. And now I can have the conversation around getting pre-approved and why is that important? That's another portion of that buyer consultation, is why is pre-approval important? But after they've designed their house and they've got that picture of that house. So the best way for me to help you find that house, and not only just find it, but to win it. If it's a gorgeous house and it's priced right, you could be in multiple offers and all that other stuff. So there's some other things. Have you gotten pre-approved? And as we go through the form, that's down towards the bottom part of it, right? Have you gotten pre-approved? Do you have a lender? So there's the other part of it. So all I did was take the housing part and stick it in the middle of the form that's in your Elements toolbox, because I wanted, for me, I got this information up front so I could set them on a search instantly, get an MLS listing from me within seconds of us hanging up the phone. And I've already got a text message back to them to see if they got it. And there's just excitement there. Like, yeah, we just got them. We're looking through them now. It's like, great. Now be sure to drive by them and check them all out. So that's another part of my process, is that they drive by them. All right, I want to get through this. So this is not a command class, but I'm telling you, all this stuff, all the resources that are available are in command. So you can set up a neighborhood insight search for them, for if there's a specific neighborhood they're looking for. I don't use this a whole lot for buyers because they're looking kind of all over the place. I use this mostly for sellers when I know what their neighborhood is and we want those insights for the neighborhood. However, if there's 2 or 3 areas that they like and you got bigger neighborhoods and they've narrowed that search down, know that this is available. I mean, because it's going to provide all kinds of stuff for them, just what's been selling in there so that they know what things are selling for. And again, here's how the home buying process works. This right here is your buyer consultation. Let's just walk through the process, and everything that you need to know to take advantage of the market is on this page. And it's right there downloadable. It's actually in your Elements guide that you could just use this for your consultation. Let me take you through the process, okay? Because when you get there, I'm coming to your answer on how you get them to sign. The neighborhood insights are great drip pieces. All right. And I mean, again, you might have affiliated business disclosures or any other documents with Keller Mortgage, that kind of stuff. So just figure out where that fits in there. If they aren't pre-approved, you're just talking about Keller Mortgage does save people some money. It's definitely worth throwing out there. And because even if you have a local lender, I have them talk to 2 or 3 different lenders. You got the bank, you got the mortgage broker, and then you got Keller Mortgage. So, and they may have already talked to somebody, like a lot of the ones from realtor.com are already going through somebody else, but I still give them the live person to talk to say how you can make your score wherever you need it to be. All right, so let's go through here. So, and again, this is just showing value proposition. If you don't have many years in real estate and don't have many sales, then just make sure you use some of your office statistics on that. But when you're conducting that buyer consultation or the buyer presentation, it's good to read it first, make up your own summary of what that paragraph is in your own words, because you're going to have different personality types. Your D's and your C's would like the, well, your D just wants to know exactly what the paragraph says, so the quick summary, but the I's and the S's, they're not going to want to hear word for word. The C personality will probably want to read the whole paragraph, but I always give them my little summary of it, and then they'll either sign it most of the time, or a C will sit there and read it. And you just pause and let them read. But that happens so rarely. Less than 5% of the population is a 5. Let me say this. Them reading it and understanding every word on the buyer agency agreement is not what's going to get them to sign. That is not the critical part. From a legal perspective, you need to make sure you've covered everything so that they fully understand what representation means and what you're bringing. But to Scott's point, the reason they don't sign is they don't know there's a value in signing it yet, or they don't know, like, or trust you yet. So you haven't made the connection yet to earn that part. And here's what I'm going to tell you is that you stay in touch with them even more and you work on getting that connection. And if you can get to the point where they share their address with you and their life story and what their dream home is, you're kind of setting them up. That comes first, because now there's excitement and stuff built behind it, that excitement will help them like you and trust you more, to where it's just, you went too quick if you're not getting that. So on the buyer consultation, to close it, this is sharing the app. But on closing it, here's what you do. You go through that script. Here's the process. Here's how to take advantage of the market. This is the buyer agency agreement. This is the contract. Here's how I explain it. I don't even call it the buyer representation agreement. That's real estate jargon. They don't know what that is. I say this form is kind of like when we work for a seller to help them get the most money for their house. This form allows us to look out for your best interest as a buyer and make sure that you have somebody looking out for you. Could you see how that would be a benefit to have somebody in real estate every single day looking out for your best interest? That is the best closer of all, because they're either going to say yes 99.99999% of the time, and you say, great, this form allows me to do that. Slide it over and hand them the pen. You're not being sneaky. You're not cheating. If they understand the value of what you just went through, and you kind of summarize the contract, and you could say, so could you see how this could be a benefit to have somebody who does this every single day, and everything that I've shown you, how that would be a benefit to you? And if they say yes, say, great, this form allows me to do that. I don't like to use the word sign. Now, until you do that, probably 10 times, you're not going to be comfortable doing it. And you're going to mess it up the first couple of times, and you're going to say it doesn't work, but you said the word sign and you went too quick and you didn't go overview everything. They didn't see the value of having you represent them. They didn't see the value of somebody who's in real estate full time. And even if you're not full time, somebody who's in real estate and understands real estate and has years and years of experience from the people behind us and everything in our office behind us, right? If you're brand new, having somebody in real estate look out for your best interest that understands all this stuff, could you see how that'd be a benefit to you? So I hope don't make it any more difficult than that. How many of you right now raise your hand and go, that is the most ultimate closing script ever of all time, right?
It's all right.
Yeah. All right. Use it, Scott, because I know you will. And I want to see how many more you get signed. You may not even have complete trust over them at this point, but you will. Now, here's another thing. While you're sitting there, already went through, got the information, what their ideal home looks like. We're going to set them up on the MLS search, all that stuff. Now, I want to make sure you're not calling on properties that are already sold. So I want to get you our app, and you can go into Command on your phone If you look down in the bottom right corner where it says more, once you're in the app, you can actually share that app with them, either in LinkedIn, Twitter. And again, you know, we can get into way more detail on how do you like to be contacted, by email, by phone, by text. Multiple medium all over. I don't care if they say they prefer text messages, they're going to get phone calls from me, right? I don't care if they say they prefer text messages, I'm still going to email them, but I'm going to text them too. So I'm going to still send out all the multiple mediums in my plans. However, when you do get to that point, you do ask them, you know, how do they like to be best preferred? I have all of my plans set up, like whatever my drip plan is, whatever the pieces are, where the phone calls fall in, the follow-up, the touches, whatever, I'll do an all email plan, an all mail plan, which is just a duplicate of the all email, only it's letters. And in command, it'd have to be a PDF or a Word document with a to-do reminder to go pull it up. But there's some people you won't have email. And I hope I'm talking you guys out of email. You don't need email really, other than to send them properties so they get them the day they hit. You really don't need email until you're under contract and you're actually sending them contracts. Email is not going to strengthen your relationship with them, right? You got to send them something of value that they need to click on because they're waiting for it. That's the only thing email is really, really good for. Same with text messages. If you skip the phone call and the personal touch, you will be lost. You worked up so hard to get top of mind, you'll fade away. So when that comes through, send it to yourself. Do everything to yourself first. Guys, pull up the consultation and create the neighborhood thing for yourself and see what the neighborhood reports look like. See what they come out like. This is what it looks like when it comes to my text message. So I sent it to myself, so I know what it looks like. Now I can take this screenshot and send it to them by email or by whatever and say, hey, here's what it looks like. You should have gotten this text from me. Because again, if you haven't completely connected with them or they don't have you top of mind awareness, they may miss it. They've got text messages and emails. Send it to yourself. Send yourself the app in email, LinkedIn, everything. Send it to you in every format and take a screenshot of that so you know what it looks like. You got to keep it simple, right? And the cool thing about the app is if they are using it and saving their searches, you guys are going to know about everything that they're doing. So you can customize the guide, all that stuff. So again, the concepts here, we're covering a lot of stuff in an hour. It's to get you excited enough to go pull the Elements book up, to go pull the PowerPoint up, to go look through all this information again. It's all on the resource site. I posted it. And all the sessions have been recorded. Those are posted for you. Go back through, start writing down the things out of your notes that you want to get implemented. And then by all means, click on the survey, which is also in the contact notes, and just let your leadership seriously know about the class today, the content, right? Remember, I have an hour to work with. We always go an hour and 5 because I'm cramming as much as I can and giving you guys the real world stuff that you can go out and use and apply to all this stuff versus reading it through a manual, right? But you got to let them know like what you think about this class, because just like anything, if you guys come to the class and get great information and your business doesn't double, then Brad Korn won't be your instructor next year, you know? So we got to provide value for you having me as your instructor, and you guys can get a hold of me. Google Brad Korn, Kansas City. You have my email, you have my cell phone. If you aren't implementing anything, call me and tell me. I will help you get what you need to get in place to start doubling and tripling your business, or how to apply something. So if there's a specific question on that close thing, if you use that close and it doesn't work, use it a couple times. And if it doesn't work, call me. Let's talk through it. I'm going to just say, did you record yourself? Record yourself on the next couple, right? And send me the recording. Let's listen to it. We'll work through it. Guys, you have me as a one-on-one coach as we're going through all of this Ignite stuff. So I'm available for all of you. Do the survey. Let them know how it went. It's in the chat box. We are on for Friday. This week is Mega Camp. If you guys aren't going to Mega Camp, man, talk about networking and agents and what you guys are learning in here for follow-up and agents. It's kind of fun to network online, actually. And they just pulled the plug on the live part of it. So we're all virtual. I will be online. If you see me or I see you, let's connect and send each other a chat and start playing with networking with other agents around the country. So otherwise, we'll be back on Friday at 10:30 your time, 10:30 a.m. on Friday. All right. Hopefully you guys had a great class.
It was a good one, Brad.
All right. Good to hear.
Catch ya. I'll see you in Austin or virtually.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah. Questions?
Thank you. Very good. Very
You
good.
betcha, buddy. You betcha. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I can stay on. All right, I will check the note while you guys are still here. I never got one signed. I never asked. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is George Roush. I would say a new agent coming in, Keller Williams. I haven't really done residential real estate in quite many years. I was in a different profession, had to switch to an accent I had. So that's why I'm here learning and reinventing myself, as I say, to this market and this time of real estate. So this is the first I've been on. I guess number 5 means there's been 4 before this. Where would I go to get those other, I guess, classes?
The past classes?
Correct,
Do you see your chat box there?
right?
There's a couple of links if you scroll back up to the top.
Okay,
So there's one for the survey. It's actually on there twice. Don't worry about
Okay.
that. And then the next one down says videos from past sessions.
I just, the chat box went away.
Yep, so that should have the link to the videos. The other one is that attendee link to get Brad's drip plan. Click on that and fill out that form as well.
Yeah, well, hold on one second, because I'm not seeing,
Let me see videos. Let's see if I click on it and see what I get.
no, when I clicked on the chat, it disappeared. I mean, I didn't get, oh, there it is. Okay, now I've got it on the side. All right. So if I go scroll up to the top, okay,
Yep, I just shared on the screen again. This is what it looks like. Here's all the videos when you click on that link.
okay,
So there's a Google Drive folder you have that is, if you just search Ignite in your email, you'll probably find these links to the Google Drive as well. But I
Okay.
just put them in there easy for you. Oh, I think I just sent the whole entire group a link of all the links in your email as well. It says Ignite links. So
okay.
that has all the links as well.
Let me see
Oh,
that.
I was actually getting ready to send it to you guys. That's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I got my email open on the screen. I don't see it yet. But okay, yeah, only because, like I said, I just jumped in now and but just fill in the blanks.
Yep. Yeah, so these you just click on them and you'll go through all the past sessions. It starts from the very beginning. It doesn't really have them labeled, whether it's Spark 1 or 2. I would just click through each
Okay.
one and go through each one again.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.